Hi there, I hope you're doing okay. So, this is my first session of the Magnetic Brand Masterclass. It's a gift from me to you because I know that this is going to be something that you're really going to benefit from. You're probably a business owner, probably, CEO, maybe you're founder of a business, maybe you're an entrepreneur, maybe you're an aspiring entrepreneur, maybe you understand the benefits of having a solid online presence. And by solid, I mean a really magnetic online presence. And if you understand the benefits of having an online presence, if you see people and you see how they actually attract people rather than having to chase them, you know that this is something that works. And if you want to learn about that, you're in the right place. I'm really excited to be bringing this to you because I truly understand how important this will be. It's a step in the right direction. I really hope this gives you the push or the sort of maybe guidance that you're looking for, without all the fluff and all the other crap. This is the stuff that's really going to move the needle for you. It does obviously take a little bit of understanding. It does take time to sit down and absorb all of this. But once you've absorbed this, and by the way, you don't have to sit and watch this. Maybe you can just play it in the background while you're doing something, even if it subconsciously is going in your mind. This will be something that I know will definitely help you. I've had a lot of positive feedback from this, and that's why I'm excited to bring it to you. So, without further ado, I want to just jump straight into this and go through this Magnetic Brand Masterclass. So, welcome to the Magnetic Brand Masterclass. We're not just going to be talking about branding, we're actively going to be building your personal brand from a place that's as authentic as possible. It's going to be a brand that lasts, a brand that matters, and a brand that attracts without chasing. And like I said, I want to be turning you into what I like to call a magnetic market leader. Now, it's not so much an act of creation in terms of becoming this magnetic market leader. It's actually bringing together what I realize is self-discovery and your credibility. So, your ability to deliver what you're offering to your niche from a professional perspective. So it's like taking what you know already and letting that grow. So no pressure, literally this is how easy it is. It's just about taking things away instead of, adding more things on. And that's why I love this so much, because it's simple and it's just bringing things down to the first principles rather than adding all this extra stuff on. So that's why I'm so excited about this. Now, here's what I want to make myself a little bit smaller so I'm not taking up half of the screen. Okay, so this is what we're going to be covering. Now, I like to visualize things like this so that it makes it easier for me to see what sort of a roadmap, what sort of a journey we're going to be going down. So this is what it looks like. So we've got the Magnetic Brand Masterclass, which is all of this that you can see, which is essentially the foundations of building an online business, really. These are the things that you're going to need. So the session that we're going through today is session 1, which is uncovering your magnetic identity. There are 3 things in this framework that I've built that I've realized is, this is all it takes. So there's 3 questions that I want to be able to answer, that I want you to be able to answer. So it's, who are you? What makes you you? And what do you do? So when it comes to really understanding how to be magnetic, these are the things that we need to focus on. So once we've done this in the first session, the second session is about positioning your magnetic identity in terms of what do you do. And then we're going to be bringing this all together in the resources and worksheets. So then once we've got an understanding of these things, we can go through the Know Thyself workshop. This is a really good thing. If you've not done this already, I would definitely recommend you do this. It's a really good place to start in terms of understanding yourself. Some people have said, oh, it's not accurate. And I truly believe the reason that they say that this is not accurate is because they fill out the test from a place of what they think they should be doing rather than what they actually are doing in their heart of hearts. And, there's a few of the reasons why you may not get right answers. But if you truly answer these questions in the most honest way, without any, ego or outside forces trying to sort of persuade you or anything, any expectations that you've got, then you will get a really, really good result. And then one of my favorite parts is crafting your origin story. So this is like your hero's journey. I love doing this because this is a gold mine. This is literally a gold mine. And then this is one of the key foundational things that I have to go through. But would love for you to be able to do this as well, which is understanding your true values. This is, like I say, one of the key things. We hear the word values all the time, but what does it really mean? I mean, this really gets you clear on what your values really are. Niche workshop is about, really understanding your niche. One of the most sort of succinct and best ways to do that. And then we go into crafting your juicy $100 million offer in this workshop, which is also a lot of fun. So this all comes together into crafting your vision board. So with a vision board, you can have different vision boards for different areas of your life. Like there are 7 areas of your life. You've got the family, spiritual, you've got your mind in terms of the ideas that you're coming out with, that better the world. You've got the physical as well. So basically there's different areas of your life that you can create vision boards for. But this is specifically for your vocational, which is your business, your career. And I love doing this. So this vision board goes up in your bathroom mirror, it goes on your bedroom wall, it goes on in your office, somewhere where you can see it, so that we've got our vision, we're laser focused on it, and we know exactly what steps we need to take to bring that into reality, which is a lot of fun. So yeah, that's basically it. Now, you might already have an understanding of your offer. You might have an understanding of what your niche already is. This is just basically to ensure that there are no stones left unturned, because I feel like it's going to be a bit of a disservice to you if I didn't actually go through all of these to make sure every aspect of your marketing is on point. Okay, now one thing that I have done with this is integrated it with AI. Now, I mean, AI, in my opinion, is one of the greatest breakthroughs since, like electricity. It's disruptive, it's powerful, and it's here to stay. So just like the people who resisted like technology or even electricity, they got left behind. The same goes for AI today. I say they got left behind, but I mean, if I think about it, not necessarily. It depends on what your vision is and what your values are. But for the most part, for the people that I'm working with, for you probably as well, for what your goals are, for what your desires are, most likely, we're going to need to use AI. So that's why in this program, I'm going to be integrating AI into your business, into everything that that we're going to be doing, just to help you stay ahead of the curve. And if you haven't already done so, I'm going to be guiding you on how to create your own personalized GPT model using ChatGPT, allowing you to generate tailored and relevant outputs specific to your goals. So remember those worksheets and the workshops that I've done. Each of those worksheets tie directly into this masterclass, and it's going to really allow us to craft some high quality inputs. Remember, the quality of inputs lead to the quality of the outputs that you get, whether that's with AI or whether that's with the questions that we ask ourselves in life. So by the end of this, when we've gone through the whole masterclass, you'll have the tools to leverage AI for ideation, for content creation, and business strategy as well. And that's going to be setting you up for success far beyond this program. So yeah, it's a really big thing here, really big thing. I love it. So my main goal for you in this session is going to be to unleash your magnetic identity, like I said. So this is to help you understand, discover, to refine, and prepare to position your unique brand identity to your ideal client profile using your business model. And also, the secondary sort of a benefit or a goal is to build a legacy that grows beyond your present business goals. So think about, your children, your grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren. This is going to be something that's like building your legacy. So it's a really powerful thing that we're doing here. Everyone has something magnetic about them. You can say you don't, I guarantee that you do. But a lot of people I speak to like, oh no, I'm not magnetic, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. But no, it's usually the opposite of what they think it is as well. So this is really interesting because it's a shift in what most people's perceptions of, what being magnetic actually is, especially to the right type of person who your ICP, your avatar, your ideal client, your ideal customer is. It's like, I give this analogy. So, if you're on a date with someone who you really like, imagine approaching the situation without clarity about who you are and what you want, leading you to act out of fear rather than confidence. So you aren't thinking clearly enough to understand whether or not that person is even the right fit for you. And even if they are the right fit, just because of your lack of confidence, your lack of self-awareness, and your lack of vulnerability, you will most likely come across as like, this guy's desperate, or, this girl's trying too hard. Most of the time, this lack of clarity repels the right fit. And even when you do attract someone, it often leads to mismatched expectations or unsatisfying outcomes because you've just approached it from this weird energy, as I like to say. And in the context of your business, this looks like presenting a version of yourself online which isn't authentic. It's trying to be what you think your ideal client wants rather than who you actually or who you truly are. So this often attracts mismatched clients or pushes away the right type of client or the people that will really be the right fit for you. So like it says over here, I'm going to be helping you be more confident. I'm going to be helping you be more self-aware and helping you be more vulnerable. And therefore, this is really empowering you to naturally attract the right people who resonate with your actual values. And in turn, this is going to be helping you be more recognized, remembered, and respected as well. So like I say, I want to help you be more in tune with yourself. We actually often hide our unconventional qualities, not realizing that they are actually our true strengths. So embracing these helps you uncover your why and build your magnetic identity. So I've got a disclaimer over here because it does get a little bit deep, and I want to say that I'm not a licensed therapist or a psychologist, and exploring this can take you to some deep places. If needed, consider reaching out to a professional for support. That said, shining a light on the parts of yourself buried deep in your subconscious will make this journey so much easier. I know it's tough, but honestly, it's going to be worth it. These hidden parts are often the key to whether you win or whether you lose in this game. So I'm going to do the best that I can for you so that we can get the best content and strategy possible for your organic presence. So yeah, to be fair, if you don't even know who you are enough, how are you going to be putting yourself out there and expecting other people to know who you are? Now, with that said, without going too much more into it, let's get into this. So I like this quote. I liked it, so I just wanted to throw it in here. Why be second at being somebody else when you can just be first at being you? Let that sink in for a moment. So like I said earlier as well, these are the three questions. So who are you? What do you do? And what makes you you? These are the core questions that I want to be helping you answer to help you to become a magnetic market leader. This masterclass is designed to guide you in building a personal brand that becomes a powerful asset for your business. And too often, we're focused on external tactics, forgetting the most important step, looking inside. Now, a magnetic market leader deliberately treats their personal brand as a key driver of their business success. Think of figures like Jessica Alba, Ryan Reynolds, Alex Hormozy. I mean, the list is literally endless. The Rock, so many people, they've used their personal brands to build multi-million-dollar empires. They've achieved this not through hacks or shortcuts, but by focusing on what truly matters, their unique identity, their values, and their vision. And by you being here with me today, you've already taken a powerful step. You've recognized that success isn't about superficial tactics or quick wins. It's about cutting through the noise, removing assumptions, and diving into the first principles of building your legacy. Now, in the first session, we're going to be focusing on the most important part of your brand, you. I mean, to be fair, all of it is you. But the thing is, who are you really? This is the foundation of everything, especially for our content strategy to work. In the second session, we'll take this clarity and position you effectively with the what do you do aspect. Later, as you saw, we'll dive into defining your niche, creating your offer, and tying it all together to create your vision board, your friend and ally. It's a powerful tool that you'll keep in places, like I say, that's going to inspire you, that's going to remind you of your vision altogether. So there you go. Now, I understand, obviously, you may be thinking, oh God, this is a lot of work to do, but to build something truly transformational or even magnetic, you need a solid foundation. It's like building a house of cards. You blow it, it's going to fall down. We're not building a house of cards here. We're building a house of solid bricks. So this is your opportunity to frame who you are. Your past achievements as well comes into this in the second session, and your vision, as I say, in this vision board. So it's about defining what you stand for, the business that you're actually going to be building or putting out there, and in this chapter of your life, what you're going to be focusing on, and how you want to be known and remembered in the long run as well. And by the end of this journey, you won't just have the tools to grow, you'll actually have a personal and a professional brand that naturally attracts people, and it's going to feel effortless and aligned because it's built on the foundation of who you truly are and why your niche will choose you over anyone else in your space. So this is like, when you commoditize yourself, it's like uncommoditizing yourself. It's like branding yourself. And that's what this is all about. And the crazy thing is, by doing this properly, people won't just follow you. They'll actually want to be part of your world altogether. They'll want to be wearing what you're wearing. They'll be seeing what you're eating, and they want to eat what you eat. They'll be buying what you sell. So this is a really big thing that we're actually doing here. This ties in perfectly with a quote by motivational speaker Paul J. Meyer. I really like this. He says that success is a progressive realization of predetermined, worthwhile personal goals. So that's a lot to unpack there. But in essence, what Mayer is suggesting is that success isn't necessarily about reaching an end destination, but about consistently making progress towards meaningful and personally significant goals that you've thoughtfully set out for yourself. Something that our vision board is exactly designed to help us with. You might have a goal that you want to, work towards for the rest of your life, or you might have a goal to dedicate to this chapter of your life. The beauty is we can keep reading and keep on refining, keep on reading and keep on refining, and reading and refining our vision, our goals, our values, our missions. So as we're going through life, we can carry on iterating that until we get closer and closer to what our why is. And if I'm being completely transparent, I think I'm probably on that journey as well. It's about finding that sort of tear-jerking thing. John DeMartini talks about that. What is your, and this is the thing about, going into the values and things like that. This is why I love it so much, because when you really get that tear of gratitude, as he says, for doing what you're doing, that you're going to show up and this is not going to feel like work anymore. There's something more powerful behind why you're doing something. But it does take you going into yourself and sort of coming into yourself as well, and then coming back out into the world as a transformed being, if you want to call it that. So by building your personal brand, your efforts will compound over time, just like your profits, allowing you to automate, eliminate, and delegate more easily while leaving a lasting mark on the world. This is something you really need to understand. Your personal brand surpasses the boundaries of your business. You come first, and then it's your business. So your business is actually a reflection of your values. It's a reflection of your ongoing story, of your credibility, and your vision for the future as well. Your content and business is going to hit harder when we are clear on these. people will want to get behind you when you're clear on these as well. So you may have a big picture, your macro business goal, like, where you want to be in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and also the micro business goals as well, like your current goals for this quarter, maybe, or, the next 3 years. So I'll be making sure that we're crystal clear on these goals. As the saying goes, a man without a goal is like a ship without a rudder. Now, to create a brand that attracts the right clients, the right opportunities, and for sustainable success, I need to assume that you are already a magnetic market leader. That means understanding who you are, what drives you, and what sets you apart from everyone else in your industry. Now, I know you might be feeling daunted by the task with the way I'm framing all of this, but hear me out. What I do talk about is over 90% of business owners want to build a personal brand, but they don't. But the good news is for you that it's easy to build a personal brand because emphasis on the word personal. All you need is like strategies and things like that to go with this. But because I've taken the time to uncover the main psychological and marketing hurdles to make this as easy as possible for you, it's going to be something that you're really going to be, it's going to be so easy for you. And I do get that it might be uncomfortable, but that's why you're here. And I promise you, you will get over it. Once you've gone through this process, you'll be like, you know what, that was absolutely fine. No big deal. So one word that I probably said 100 times already, brand, 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 brand. We hear this term thrown around everywhere, but what does it actually mean? It's so easy to feel swamped and overloaded with information by the endless list of experts. And that's why I've taken countless hours of my time to study various works and make this as digestible as possible for you. And on my journey, I've researched insights from brilliant minds, such as you can see, we've got Martin Neumeyer. He's a master brand strategist. He's worked with some big companies and he really knows what he's doing when it comes to branding. He's wrote 3 main books around branding. One of them is Zag, which is really good. And we've got the Brand Gap and the Brand Flip. We've got Seth Godin over here as well. If you don't know who he is, he's a renowned author. He's like the founder of email marketing, they say. Chris Do, Emmy award-winning designer. And the reason that I actually is a key figure for me is because he's a personal brand strategist and also a business coach. Daniel Priestley, he's more on the corporate side of things, which I really like, the professional side of things. With the corporate brand strategy, he's also an author, multi-business owner. We've got Alex Hormozi, serial entrepreneur, thought leader, and he's got a mega personal brand. We've got Dr. John DiMartini. He's an author. He's a inspirational speaker for inner work and self-improvement. And we've got Dr. Carl Jung. He's a Swiss psychiatrist, and he's a pioneering psychology theorist as well. And there's obviously many, many more people that can't fit everybody onto this, but these are just some key figures. These are why you're probably thinking, why am I showing you these people? It's because these people, in one way or the other, have been my mentors. I've learned a lot from them. They embody what it means to be magnetic market leaders as well. They've used their personal brands to achieve extraordinary magnetism, and their principles, like the principles of magnetic personal branding, are exactly what we'll be going through in this masterclass. And just as I've learned from them to build and start applying this for myself, I'll also help you, and I actually encourage you to find your own mentors who will be guiding you through this journey. Because in truth, I've heard as well from different people, the right mentors can make up to 80% of your success. And some people say more. Like this is not what you know, it's who you know. Okay, so I want to share with you a little bit about my story. Now, they say don't make a point without a story and don't tell a story without a point. So there will be a point in this, which I'll tell you at the end. But this is an excerpt, or I've taken this out of what was one of my vision boards. It's just a little bit of a journey that I've been going on in terms of where I've come from and where I am right now. So, just some milestones and things that have happened in my life. This is where I, grew up from the age of sort of 6. This is when I went to America. I worked at a camp for the blind and visually impaired over summer when I was 18. And this was a massive mural that I made and I painted because I was a creative person. And these all in this sort of film reel are the different activities that we did there. So obviously you can see there's dinner bell, there's horse riding, guide dog training, there's archery, there's all sorts of different things over here. Growing up, I was a creative person, and that was mostly sort of put to the side, or I was told to sort of, not do this and don't do this and don't do that. And I ended up sort of losing myself in a way. But that was still there. And then I got married when I was 21, started working at a law firm. I was there for over a decade. That was me when I went to, my first family trip to Dubai, got my first car, we moved out, and this is where we're living at the moment. Dabbled in eBay, tried some drop shipping after that, a bunch of stores that just didn't work. Had my 4th child, and then started planning. I created, and then I came across, I've got Agency Navigator there because I had a bit of realization while I was working at the law firm, and I was dabbling in all these different business models. I was thinking, what is it I can do? I was just looking for a way out. Dead end 9 to 5. And it's funny I say dead end because I think I made it into a dead end in hindsight, because Later on, I read a book, 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And it's so funny because the first law of that is never outshine the master. And that is exactly what I was doing while I was working there, like going over and beyond and just showing that I'm really good at this and just, smashing every target. And, I ended up feeling really unfulfilled and a bit burnt out because of all the efforts I used to do, converting thousands of clients and just sort of training others, doing all sorts of things. But yeah, I was a bit unfulfilled in that role. So Agency Navigator, I came across Iman Gadzi, one of the videos he was talking about the agency model, and I thought, you know what, that might be a way for me to use the skills that I've accumulated or that I've learned while being in the corporate space. Why not do something where I can apply that in my own business? So I created this company called Profit Lions. That's my old logo. And, that was about 2-3 years ago. And here I am now. And I have had a long journey. The real thing was, the big kicker was, while as a social media manager, I was following people giving business advice, and I started noticing that these people were using their personal experiences to actually create real impact just by showing up as themselves. And I was actually oblivious to that at the time. And I was just working on my business in the background, trying to, figure out ways to make money and get clients and things like that. But the power of building a personal brand was actually staring at me the whole time. And I think this is exactly what I always wanted for myself. And by doing what I'm doing now, I feel like I can finally do what I naturally love to do, which is, helping others build their legacies, build my own legacy, helping people overcome their problems, sharing experiences that I've had that can, help other people pull themselves out of any, situations that they find themselves stuck in. Although I had clients to serve, I had a family to feed, and, I had other things that I needed to do. I just started on, I started work on building something that I wanted to be proud of and that could use myself as well. And that's how this magnetic growth system that I built came to be. So here I am, after taking a long way around, masking my creativity, masking the things that I was truly good at. I really wanted to help others discover their paths while also putting in the work myself to build something meaningful. And right now, I'm in the trenches with you probably at the same time in terms of building an online presence and doing something which I feel like I was always destined to do. And I'm sharing some of my insights on social media right now. I'm getting my message out there bit by bit, and I'm improving my magnetic growth system as I'm going. And I'm just not only trying to make an impact for myself here, I want to do this for you. And the point of the story is, I probably garnered a little bit of your trust on the touch points that I've had with you before you watched this video. You probably checked out some other things, and you maybe were interested in clicking on this. Those were little touch points. And when you've watched this, now you've known a little bit about my story. You might see me a little bit differently now, and that's my point. So this is the power of showing yourself and being authentic. And having made this point, I want to be diving a little bit more into your story, because I want you to be able to build your story as well. And I want to be able to build something magnetic together. So this is my personal brand framework that, as I say, over years of being in the space, I've created this framework. So this is my attempt at bringing together the things that you'll need in order to do this for yourself. So my framework blends insights from my mentors and my excitement and enthusiasm for psychology and creativity, aiming to give you the tools that you need to show up in the marketplace. Now, this framework is going to be helping you gain a well-rounded understanding of yourself as you enter the market. And it's a place that can actually feel quite disheartening because there's so much noise out there, and it can be intimidating and even overwhelming. And much of this fear actually comes from a lack of understanding or getting analysis paralysis. So this framework is an overview of everything that we'll be going through. These are the things that you're going to need. And together in these sessions, in this first session with you as well, we're going to be focusing on the things that make you you and who are you. But later on, we do go through things in, like I say, crafting your niches, messaging, and the all-important $100 million offer. Together, all these pieces sort of fit together to you being more self-confident, self-aware, and vulnerable, catapulting you into organic and paid marketing as someone who is magnetic. And I say paid marketing, but if you do this right, most people don't even need paid marketing. Now, there are countless hours of analysis, research, and industry knowledge that I have done my best to squeeze into this to bring you everything that matters in a format that is as digestible as possible. So I hope this is making sense. I'm sure it is. Okay, so I want to just touch on Gary Vee a little bit, Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, the reason I want to focus a bit on Gary Vee is because he embodies all three characteristics of a successful thought leader within his industry as well. He's actually successfully used his personal brand as a key asset for his business goals, tying each company or business venture that he's done, that he's had, with his name to give it credibility and boosting the company's growth. I've also got to work with his videographer for a brief moment of time. So very briefly, a couple of years ago, I worked with, brushed shoulders, you could say, with D-Rock. And he was a guy that followed Gary Vee around with a camera for 8 years as his trusted videographer. He saw Gary Vee rise from a few subs on YouTube. Well, it was around 8 to 10,000, I believe, before he started working with him on YouTube, to the 44 million followers that Gary Vee has across his socials now. So Gary Vee's brief story goes a little bit like this. So he's a self-made millionaire. He grew up in the former Soviet Union before moving to the US. He went from hustling in his family's wine business to becoming one of the most genuine voices in business today. So Gary's net worth may be impressive, but what's really cool is how he actually got there. By building an authentic personal brand that's all about keeping it real and relatable. Now, his brand actually thrives on brutal honesty, a little bit of humor, and commitment to sharing every bump in the road, and not just the smooth parts, every little thing that happens. He's a guy who tells it like it is, whether it's a success or a massive fail. He's not into quick wins either. He's all about the long game. He talks about that quite often, and that's what keeps his audience hooked. He documented, and he still documents his journey. Now, what makes Gary so magnetic, in my opinion, is his focus on individuality. He's quirky, he's intense, and he doesn't believe in hiding it. He too encourages people to lean into their weirdness, as he said. That's why his fans don't just follow him, they trust him. Just like one of the clients that I worked with, her name was Tash Courtney Smith. She truly she held him in high regard. And when she got the opportunity to work with D-Rock, to work on her personal brand, I was there and watched her fangirl. Even though it was not Gary that she was working with directly, she actually secured a deal to work with his videographer, and she was over the moon with that. So that's just an example of what makes his brand one of the most magnetic around. Now, another person I wanted to focus on is this guy, Patrick Bet-David. Now, just to hit the point home for you, the reason I think his story is powerful, not just because he's a highly successful entrepreneur, but because he's an immigrant who came from Iran with practically nothing. Patrick worked his way up, first in the insurance industry and later launched Valuetainment back in 2013. He did make some videos before then as well, but Valuetainment right now is a media platform now reaching millions of people. And what makes Patrick's brand so magnetic is his authenticity and his grit, his determination. He's not just about big wins, he shares the tough lessons as well. You've seen a pattern here. He shares his setbacks and his personal challenges that he's had along the way as well. And as a father of 4, like myself, I relate to the balance that he strikes between pursuing big goals and being there as a family man as well. He is about resilience. He's intense, he's strategic, and always pushing people to confront their weaknesses head on. He's the embodiment of having an opinion and not backing down. So you need to build your opinions too, by the way. Think about this. Of course, there are going to be people out there who disagree. So what? There will be people who agree too. And his followers, like me, don't just watch him, they trust him because he's there to empower them, teaching them that anyone can create success with the right mindset. That's the core of Patrick's brand. Authentic, being accessible, and also being inspiring. This is his personal brand. And it's outside the boundaries of his business ventures too, but it opens more doors for him than ever. I mean, think of all the high profile people that he's met and the recent appearance of, Donald Trump on his podcast as well. And also, just on a separate note, I remember a keynote from March that he gave, March 2024, where he said that even if you're not going to make content for business, at least make it for your children, your grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren, and beyond, as it's a powerful legacy you will leave and a great way that they can remember you. So I want to ask you, think about this. Who is your attractive character? Who inspires you? Or think about someone through history that you've admired and that you're drawn to. And it could be more than one person. Think of someone who has held a place of high esteem and regard in your mind. Think about it. Who is it for you? Think about this deeply. Let's take one of the people that you've probably thought about. Why are they attractive to you? What is it about them? And you might actually think about somebody like this. Most people do, that I speak to anywhere. This exercise has actually been done by a large group of people in a workshop that was led by Chris Doe. And almost always they end up with the same 3 characteristics. The people that they choose have these 3 characteristics. They've got self-awareness, they've got self-confidence, and they've got vulnerability. Now think back to when I mentioned about Gary Vee and Patrick Bet-David. They too embody all 3 of these aspects. So I'm asking you, does it make sense to you now why this is so important to understand in the realm of personal branding? We can borrow these concepts and we can start to apply them when we look at our own personal brand. These 3 traits encompass everything we're going to be learning so that we can answer the questions: who are you, what do you do, and what makes you you? Now, just to touch on the role of vulnerability. So vulnerability is going to basically allow you to show up authentically in your content and connect with your audience on a deeper level. So we've got Brené Brown here. She's a research professor and a best-selling author. She's known for her groundbreaking work on vulnerability. So she works on vulnerability, courage, and empathy. This has transformed how people understand personal growth and connection with their audience or with other people. So take this quote from her. It's a vulnerability. But from my perspective, this ties all three of these traits of self-confidence, self-awareness, and vulnerability together. So she says, vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. So I've put over here the aspects of why I think that this is embodying all three of the aspects as well. So self-confidence, that you need the courage to show up and be seen without even knowing the outcome. That requires self-confidence. It involves trusting yourself to handle whatever experience you're having, whether it's going to be a success or a failure. Now, in terms of self-awareness, the reason that this quote embodies that is because we have to recognize that we have no control over the outcome. And it's sort of reflecting a deep self-awareness. It means that understanding our limits and embracing them is the key. Knowing that uncertainty is actually part of growth. That fear is what holds people back, the fear of the unknown. But just understanding that and accepting that you have no control of the outcome. I mean, come on, that's a real big needle mover. Now, obviously, the quote embodies vulnerability directly. So she highlights that vulnerability isn't about achieving success or avoiding failure. It's about bravely putting yourself out there, accepting both the risks and potential rewards of true authenticity. So, like I said, you shouldn't really worry about what people think out there. As long as you're clear on your values and what journey you're on and what you stand for, there are going to be people who don't agree with you, and that's absolutely fine. Think about people that will. Those are the people that matter. Now, these concepts are interconnected because I feel like genuine self-confidence and self-awareness encourages vulnerability, making us more open to experiences that help us grow. And here's another quote from Brené Brown. I just threw in here because I liked it. Basically, it shows how only with vulnerability can we experience those true connections. So, again, I'm talking to you. I want you to understand that you are perfectly imperfect. Remember to embrace your imperfections because you are perfectly imperfect. Now, this is another really profound thing that I want to say to you. This is pretty deep. Just for a moment, let's imagine someone else telling your story to inspire other people. In fact, what I'd actually say is to vividly imagine this actually happening. Let's assume that it's already happened. And now let's wait for reality. Let's wait for time to catch up to that assumption. And by the way, in the previous slide, I actually had this book over here, and the reason that vulnerability and self-confidence and all these things, it reminded me of this book because I got this for my daughter Halima. She's 11 years old, and just to help her prepare for her teenage years, and just to help her be comfortable with herself and not necessarily needing to go with the crowd and just embrace her uniqueness, I got her this book. She's going to be starting high school next year, and I feel like in high school you've got these, again, societal pressures and people peer pressure and all this other stuff, and it's easy to lose yourself. And I feel like this is stripped away from many of us growing up, meaning the self-confidence and the self-awareness and this vulnerability is actually stripped away from us while we're growing up by being forced into these boxes. And I think that's really harmful because it actually takes a lot to try to find yourself again as an adult. So hopefully she finishes reading this. She's still currently reading this, and she will be making a book report on this and recording the book report to help other people as well. So start to share that with you guys also. Right, now moving on, I want to move on to something called Know Thyself. So this is this is actually my take on why it's an important part of building a magnetic personal brand. Now, a fantastic first step in this journey that I've helped many friends and family members with too is with the Myers-Briggs personality test. If you haven't done it before, like I said in the beginning of this, do it. It will be something that I would recommend you do after the session. Basically, we need to deal with our subconscious mind and any beliefs that we hold there. We're going to have to go back in time and think about what thoughts, beliefs, fears that we have hidden deep down. Bring them into the conscious, bring them into the light, question them, understand them, embrace them, tackle any irrational fears or habits that you've got so that we can come out stronger and more authentic than ever. Now, all this inner work that we're going to be doing will directly impact the level of success that you're going to be having in your organic marketing efforts and beyond. After all, they say the level of success you have in business is directly proportional to you as a person. I want to give you a bit of a summary of, I'm really interested in behavioral science and the damage that it can do when you're out of whack or out of sync. And just to summarize this, what our goal will be with self-awareness is to be emotionally strong enough to take our own side and feel more solid internally, trusting ourselves more than we trust the crowd, feeling that we can say no, and feeling that we are in control of some of the important truths about ourselves. By having more self-awareness, we will be a little less hungry for praise, less worried about what other people think about us, and we'll be a lot more original in our thinking. That's going to be helping when it comes to our magnetic identity. but it's going to be helping share our opinions and the ideation process for when we're coming up with ideas for content. But like I said, this goal is for you to uncover your magnetic identity, and it starts by learning the importance of knowing and understanding who you really are. So I had a client who, no matter how much he tried, he was stuck at around 500 subs on YouTube. And this guy, bless him, honestly, his consistency was solid. Like, this guy would be posting religiously, and he had already posted for a little over a year religiously. He was one of my most consistent and organized clients. Now, I helped take him to over the 1.5K mark in about 3 months, and I know he's going to be well on his way. Now, the content that he was actually making wasn't resonating with him personally. He didn't even know what he wanted to do. He was making content around something else. And it just proves to me how that can hold you back, because his audience could smell the inauthenticity. I could smell it. And this was before I had this Magnetic Brand Masterclass. But I was helping him to get in touch with what he truly wants to do. And when I finished working with him, there was a massive realization that he had. And I was so proud of him, because he said to me that I'm going to be going down this route instead now. And now I'm watching him from the sidelines grow and create content and create resources, like transformational resources. Like, I'm actually shocked at how transformational the things that he's actually creating. And I know that he's on the path to success. This is why it's so important to actually know yourself, because you're not going to move the needle until you do. So get that shovel, because in the worksheets that I have, you're going to need to start digging, and you're going to be becoming what I want to call a cognitive excavator. Now, moving on to the next slide, I did touch on this guy earlier on in this recording, because speaking about what I have done reminded me of something Robert Greene said. Like I said, he wrote 48 Laws of Power. He wrote these other books as well, and many other books. Now, he reminds us that we're unique. He said that your DNA has never existed before, and it will never exist in the future. Of course, we know that. Nor will our individual experiences be replicated that we've had from birth up until the moment that you're watching this. So Robert Greene compares this to a seed that's planted at birth. And by nurturing this seed to find this is him basically saying, finding your life's task. So to find your life's task, he, like I say, compares this to the seed being planted in our minds at birth. And by nurturing the seed, or cultivating your unique potential, as he says, you can actually achieve success through what he calls your life's task. He stresses the importance of having a deep desire and a passion in finding your life's task. And if you truly care about discovering it, you'll actually find the energy and motivation to pursue it. And I believe that's probably why you're watching this. If you are watching this at this stage, I genuinely believe that you've got this deep desire to find your true purpose. You're probably stuck right now and you're looking for this way out. That's why you're here today. Now, he advises looking into the details of your childhood or past to find small clues or moments of excitement that you've had that hints at what you're naturally inclined towards. So this may be a little bit of a process for some people. For me, it's been a big process. And just a little side note, I actually found that this could actually be fueled by a hatred of something, or even like a fear of something. Many people have said that using this hatred or using fear of something can actually push you to achieve something more than having this, this fancy desire. Fear of a bad result, like I say, is more of a motivator than the hope for a reward. So try to tap into this. Now, to tap into it, we actually need to dig into our past. Now, it's easier when you're 19, like he says, than when it is when you're 40, for example, because there are fewer extra layers that we have to dig down. But you need to act like this cognitive archaeologist or a detective, digging for a specific moment or moments or details from your early years that reveal something essential about your fears and resentments or your interests and inclinations. Now, he talks about fears and resentments and interests and inclinations. As I say, people say using the fears are more of a motivator than the interests and inclinations. It might be an interesting way to find maybe a balance between these two. So have a think about this. So, for example, for me, I was known to be expressive, outspoken, entertaining, and creative. I had buried this quite deep because of school, peers, siblings, parents, and I've loved my life. I actually am very blessed and grateful for everything I've been through. But I'm just saying this is what I went through. I also allowed a certain family member to instill the fear of tech companies spying on us and not having any privacy, and that held me back. So I had a fear of no privacy, and that didn't serve me at all. I think for me now, my fear, which is more in tune with what I'm doing, is just not having control of my life and having other people overpower the areas of my life that I need to start empowering. And if I can balance my interests and inclinations, like I say, being expressive, outspoken, entertaining, creative, if I can balance those two, I think I'll probably be on the right path. So just to go a little bit deeper than this, I actually did see a lot of conflict growing up, and I grew to really dislike confrontation as well. So I dealt with it by being overly happy and positive and just trying to make sure everyone's okay and be overly hospitable to people and just try to help people, and to keep people happy as I could. So I'm just trying to tell you that these inclinations have always been there, but I have to admit that I have suppressed a lot of myself growing up. And I am on my own journey to sort of hone in on my inclinations and interests and my fears and resentments. But I would ask you to take a look at yourself as well and start thinking about these things, because these are the keys to actually unlocking your life's task, as Robert Greene calls it. Now, Green also encourages to resist external influences. So this is something that I'll also be mentioning about myself. And same thing with you. Same thing with most people probably. Whether this is from parents, peers, or just societal trends that distract you from your unique path. Instead, it's crucial to focus on what genuinely excites you without being swayed by other people's expectations. And this is also why it's so important to know yourself. So in summary, Green's message is about the importance of self-discovery, listening to your inner desires, and taking control of your life's direction without being distracted by external pressures. Discovering your life's task brings not only success, but also personal fulfillment and will make you exponentially magnetic. Now, this brings me on to Carl Jung. So I did a little bit of digging around Carl Jung. Chris Do, he also implements this into his branding strategy as well. And I think exactly why not? I mean, this is so applicable and it's so relevant. So that's why I want to just introduce this thing to you as well. So this is from Chris Do. I've added a little bit of my own flavor. In fact, probably a lot of my own flavor into this. But basically, Carl Jung's ideas have had a huge influence on psychology, philosophy, spirituality, especially in areas related to self-awareness, personal growth, and exploring human meaning. And that's why I see him as a huge reason to include him as a part of this masterclass as well, because it will help when it comes to crafting our vision board. Carl Jung was a famous psychologist who studied how the unconscious affected our thoughts and behaviors. So he believed that we all have shadows which shape who we are. So Jung's work is very relevant to what we're actually going to be doing here with building a personal brand. Now, I want to introduce you to Carl Jung's The Shadow, because he said that there's this persona which everyone is mostly in when they're in public and among society with certain people, with groups of people in social gatherings. And it's a mask that we wear for how we want the world to actually see us, how we want the world to perceive us and to get along with people. And guess what? We can actually wear multiple masks in different situations, which is absolutely fine. Now, this reminds me of a friend of mine who I had, and she was like the coolest girl in school. She'd be doing the craziest things in break time and being all cool. And the moment her dad would ring her, she'd be like, "Oh, hi, Dad. Yeah, I'll be home at 3." And I would just look at like, whoa, what a massive difference in personas in the mask that you're wearing that I saw there. And I was about 16, and I think that just stood out. And I did joke with her at the time. I was just like, wow, you're a totally different person with him. And then we've got our shadow self. Now, both sides of these are regulated by our ego. So like I say, we've got the persona, and then we've got our shadow self. And both of these are regulated by our ego. But I just feel like the more we distance ourselves from the shadow, the less fulfilled we become. The most depressed and innately unhappy people that I actually see are those who have a huge distance between these 2 points. And I want to try to shorten this gap for you, even if it's just by a little bit, because I'd be happy if I would have made a difference in this way, just so that you can level up or boost your content game or your social presence. And this is something that I do tackle more on in the Know Thyself workshop. Now, I want to just say, how does this affect the content creation? I was just talking about this a moment ago. So the shadow affects us when we appear online. When there's a conflict between the shadow and the mask that we wear, it might look a little bit like this. This is like Bruce Banner, the Hulk. This is what split personality disorder looks like Jekyll and Hyde. Spending too much time being someone else, you end up forgetting who you are. Now, coming back to people who have successfully used their personal brand as a key asset to their business or businesses, they have little to no difference between their public persona and their shadow self. Have you noticed that? Like when you see people like, Elon Musk or, Gary Vee or Alex Hormozy, there's so many people out there who have built successful personal brands. There's probably a very small gap between them pretending to be somebody and being somebody who they actually are. And when they're not being somebody who they are, you can bet your bottom dollar that is going to come out. Either shit hits the fan sometimes, like what's going on with Diddy right now. So many little stories out there. Things do backfire on you. So why not just be authentic and genuine to start off with? A lot of these people who have got successful brands and businesses, they are very authentic and assertive in their personal branding. Assertive means when they're certain and they are, they're confident in themselves. This is why I like to dive in to do some mild shadow work in the Know Thyself workshop a little bit later. Because the way that you handle your shadow can affect your life. We all know that. but also it's going to affect the content that you create. It affects how you behave, it affects how you say things and how you do things, even if you don't realize. And when I actually listen and when I have to sit down and watch content that my clients have made, I can smell that. And if I can smell it, I know that most people can also smell that as well. And if you ignore parts of yourself, they can leak out. And this is where your beliefs tie in as well. Basically, what the concept is about having this desperate energy, or, say, for example, you're selling something. So you're on a sales call and you're coming from this place of lack because you just really want the sale. So you're looking at the fact that you need some money, you want the sale. So the way that you're actually going to be speaking and communicating with this person, whether it's content that you made, maybe you've made a VSL, a video sales letter, maybe you're, making some organic content, maybe you're recording an ad. When you have these little traits and that, these desperate energies or these things that leak out from yourself, is going to backfire. So I just really hope that point made sense, because it's really important to tackle the beliefs that you've got so that they don't become a part of your shadow that you ignore. And then that's going to affect every action that you're going to be taking going forward. Now, I've actually learned a lot from this book called Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zealand. Actually, absolutely, for me, this book was a game changer. I found a lot of reassurance and direction from this book. And it's a big book. It's a really big book. But it's a must read, in my opinion. And if you can't find the actual physical copy, which I know is pretty difficult to get hold of, there is an audio version you can try searching for. But there's many, many different concepts in this. And one of the concepts that I think really stood out was the concept called the law of balancing forces. Now, the law of balancing forces and this idea of excessive importance, in my eyes, is what translates to desperation, or this desperation energy, or similar energies like that. So when you put too much importance on something, whether it's a goal, whether it's a desire or an outcome, you create an imbalance in energy. This imbalance triggers what Zealand calls balancing forces, these balancing forces actually work to restore the equilibrium. These forces often work against you, creating obstacles and resistance because of the way you're fixated on the result, creating tension. So I'm sure this is making sense, but the key is to avoid placing too much emotional weight on what you want. If you're too attached or too resistant to not getting this thing, that whatever it is that you're fixated on, you build up this energetic resistance. And he says it's like holding on too tight, and that tension pushes away the very thing you desire. And another way I've heard of this is like you're trying to hold on to water, and the more you grip, the more it slips out of your hands. Instead, Zealand suggests you need to let go. Let go of the importance and then approach your goals with this calm intention and a light touch, he says. This actually allows the universe's natural flow to bring you what you desire without any resistance. Now, the idea is when you resist or make something overly important, you are unintentionally blocking that from coming to you. Now, another way of framing this is, I saw this equation, I forgot where I saw it from, but it's desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. So the non-resistance is the part that I'm talking about here, with the too much importance, by the desperation, the greed, maybe the infatuation, all of these things come in to then make it harder for you to get, and it puts a barrier between you and that thing. And a lot of times as well, the thing that you fear actually shows up in your life more and more and more. So you need to let go of these things, and like he says, you need to approach it with calm intention. So have the intention, but have calm intention and a light touch. So when my clients are saying, "Oh, I want to get to 10,000 followers, I need 50,000 followers, I need to," no, we assume that we are already this magnetic market leader, and we're going to be positioning ourselves as if we are, and then we're going to be giving. And there's a whole there's a really interesting way that I like to frame this, and I talk about in the second session, which is an absolute game changer. But yeah, we'll probably save that for another time. And now the last thing is, and by the way, there's other things over here as well I wanted to talk about. There's this thing over here, which is the Entrepreneurs Organization, EO. Now, again, I came across this from Christo, and as we went over earlier, we often wear a mask. Now, this mask is for the world. It's a persona that helps us fit in and for us to be accepted. But as you know, there's also a private side that reflects who you truly are, including the traits that we might be a bit hesitant to share. So the reason that I've got EO over here is because I heard something that Christo said about this organization. So this organization has this 5% rule. So they've got this 5% rule that refers to the idea where they say that people usually share 90% of themselves. It's the top 5% best and the bottom 5% worst things that members can discuss with each other in a confidential setting, because those are the things that people hold back. The purpose of this rule is to create a supportive environment for members to share their experiences and learn from each other. For example, the bottom 5% is the dark stuff, like maybe being abused as a child, going through a divorce or a really tough time. Whatever it is, it's the stuff that you really don't share. On the top 5% side are like, these big wins that you've got, like, this massive client that you've landed, or maybe, this new thing, this new job that you've got. People would usually be reluctant to share that as well, because they are afraid of getting judged by others and creating this feeling of jealousy. And for example, like I say, there's a saying, everybody wants you to do well, but just not better than them. It creates these feelings. That's why if you buy something really fancy, you might not want to post it, because your old friends might, or maybe even your colleagues, might start judging you, and that just doesn't sort of fit well. So in EO, they allow members to discuss these things amongst themselves in a confidential environment. But the reason I think that this is important with what I go through is because it's a sign for what we need to do when we start to dive into our shadow work. This is about being comfortable with ourselves. This reminded me of, and by the way, look, I'm not saying you have to literally show everything, your whole life, your dark side to the world, but it's just about understanding that you've got it first, instead of ignoring it, because when you ignore it, it starts to leak. When you acknowledge it, even personally with yourself, then you can start to understand, be more compassionate, and just approach yourself with love, so that you can just know it's there, and deal with that. Like I say, bring it to the light, see it for what it is, and just accept it instead of ignoring that. Now, like I was going to say, there's this guy, Hamza Ahmed, on YouTube. Really good guy. Respect this guy. Now, he started off his channel and he openly talked about his deepest, darkest thoughts and his struggles. And a lot of people may have shied away from that sort of stuff, but he just said it straight up. And he spoke about things like, porn addiction, promiscuity, lust, and, his relationships, his family struggles, his deepest physical insecurities, all these things. And a lot of people in his situation connected with him so quickly because he could resonate and they related to him. And that's how he ended up amassing a huge following in a very short amount of time. And it was all through being comfortable enough to share his bottom 5%. Now, I'm not saying that you need to do this, like I said, but you just need to not be afraid of that side of you, because if you do keep things like that covered and ignored, like I say, you just run the risk of that coming back and haunting you when you least expect it. So hopefully all of this would have given you enough, hopefully, to force you to think a little bit deeper about yourself, so that when you start crafting your content, you can stand out from the 99% of people out there who come into this space with a low level thinking, people trying to build this personal brand and just not understanding the level of inner work that is required in order to do it properly. So I have actually got some exercises and worksheets like you saw, and if you're interested in that, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd love to be able to help you to see, what I can do for you. If you're interested in anything in particular, let me know. But I just want to say, your work doesn't end here. It might just be the starting point for you. Who knows? And sometimes it can be a lifelong journey for people. And I honestly think that I'm also on this journey myself. But the sooner we start uncovering these things and bringing them to light, the easier our journey will be online when we share ourselves with others for a bigger purpose. All right, so that's basically it for this session of the masterclass. I have got a second session. Like I said, if you're interested in that, if you think that that's going to be helpful, I know that it's going to be helpful. Or if you want to see that, let me know. I'll be interested to see your thoughts, your feelings. What do you think about this? Is there anything about this that you think was not good? Anything that you really think that stood out for you? Let me know. I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to find out a little bit more about how what you thought about this. But yeah, thank you so much. And I will be hopefully speaking to you soon. Take care. Bye.